Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video we're going to begin working with Pandas, which is a powerful tool for working with tabular data, similar to what you might see in like a Microsoft Excel sheet. So technically speaking, the name Pandas stands for panel data, so it should be pronounced Pandas. However, I and most people I know pronounce it Pandas, like the Pandas bears, because this leaves the very impractical reason that you can then imagine an upside down panda doing all your computation for you. So this is a module, and with all of our modules, we need to import it. So we type in import pandas. And like most of the common modules we've seen, it's got a nickname. So we're going to say import pandas as PD. Now we're going to be working again with the Palmer Penguins data set. So what I want you to do is to make sure that the Palmer Penguins.csv file is downloaded and in the same folder as this file. This will allow you to follow along and write what I write. Okay. So we got a CSV in a folder somewhere, and we want to get that info into our Jupyter notebook so we can play with it in the data frame. The command we do for this is pd.read CSV. It reads in the CSV. So we type in pd.read CSV, and then we type in the name of our file, which is Palmer Penguins.csv. And we're going to give a name to the CSV we're going to reading in. And since it's a CSV about penguins, we're going to name it penguins. So let's take a look at what type of variable penguins is. All right, we see that it's a data frame. Now, what does that mean? If this is your first time seeing it, probably not so much so far. So let's go ahead and look at our penguins. And warning, when I hit enter, we're going to get a lot of info is going to flash up on your screen all at once. This is going to be big. Get ready. 3, 2, 1, penguins. Okay, cool. Now we got a bunch of penguins. Okay, so we can look at this, and like you can see, it kind of looks like a fancy spreadsheet. We got a bunch of rows. Every row is its own penguin. And then we got columns describing different things about the penguins. So this column here is what region the penguin was found in. Here's what island it was found in. There's different islands such as Torgenson and Bisco. There's another one called Dream later down in the data set. And there's different subspecies of penguins. There's Adelie penguins, Gentoo penguins. We can also look at some numerical columns. Culmen length, culmen depth. Culmen is a fancy word for the penguin's beak or bill. You'll notice that a few pieces of data are missing. Somebody forgot to write down the culmen length for penguin number 3, which is in row number 4. But all in all, this is kind of a lot of information at once. So what we're going to do first is learn how to extract some summary information about all of our wonderful, beautiful penguins. So first, let's try to see how many rows and columns are there. Penguins.shape. Okay, we see that there are 344 rows, meaning there was 344 different penguins in our data set. And there was 17 columns, meaning that if we scroll all the way across from left to right, there are 17 of them. Now we can see some of these are floats, some of these are strings, and some of these are like yes or no's. So something which is different about a pandas data frame rather than a NumPy array is that the data frame can have mixed type. But within each column, we are going to have one data type. So if you type in penguins.dtypes, it's going to tell us the data type of each column. D types. All right, so we can see that the species number is an int 64, or sample number is an int 64. A bunch of these are objects, which in this context, object means string. And then a lot of the other columns are floats. Now, if we want to get some summary information, we can type in penguins.describe. And actually, let's make this look a little bit nicer by including parentheses at the end to call the function. And what we can see is that the number in the sample thing is that there's going to be a 344 total penguins, In the column length and column depth, and most of these other columns, there's actually only 342 entries, and that's because someone entered the data in incorrectly. We can look at the mean and the standard deviation of each of the numerical columns, and also look at its percentiles. So really, with this one single line, we're able to get a lot of kind of high-level summary information about our data set. Now let's break down the different parts of our data frame. There's an index, column names, and rows. So the index are essentially the row numbers. The column names are here. It's just the title of each column. Different data set in the example picture, but it's just the name of every column. And then the actual data goes all down over here. So sometimes we want to just focus in on one column or the other. Up here we had like 17 different columns, so maybe this is just a little bit overwhelming. So what if instead we just focused in on the islands? To just focus in on the islands, we can type in Penguins Island. And this looks okay, but it doesn't look like a data frame. Instead, this is something called a penguin series. So you want to get a data frame, and usually you do want to get a data frame. You replace islands with the list containing the word island. And now we get a nice little data frame that has all of the island information in it. So this is the best way to select a single column. Other times, you'll want to select multiple columns at the same time. And the way we can do this is with Boolean indexing. So we create a mask, which corresponds to the columns we want. So we say calls is equal to species, region, island. Don't forget the quotation marks. And then we can look at penguins calls. And we see we get a nice little data frame that only focuses in on the columns which we selected. So that's it for this video. I will see you again next time where we're going to continue to develop all of the stuff we started today.